Hurt, opinion editor at the Washington Times and a Fox News contributor. Charlie, when Trump ran in 2016, he talked about the corruption of the swamp. I mean,
yes,
it's only gotten worse, yet they continue to cover for him.
No, it's incredible, Pete, to stop and think about this. You know, what we have seen over the last 2 years has proven everything, as if anyone was doubting what it was that Donald Trump was saying about what was wrong with Washington and in particular what was wrong with the Democrat Party. And at that time, especially the Clinton family and Hillary Clinton. Everything that has happened since he left office has proven that he is exactly right about it. The place is at least as corrupt as he warned us, and probably with this crowd is even more corrupt than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
I think that interview with Devin Archer is so interesting, where he wanders into the thing talking about Icarus, with the wax wings flying too close to the sun. You know, the level of corruption inside the Biden family, it was so profound, it was so hot that they had it was like they broke the meter of corruption because they got so close. And let's not forget, as overwhelming as the evidence is, it's very simple. Joe Biden took $1 billion of American taxpayer money and took it to Ukraine and bought his son a very lucrative business.
Yes.
It's that simple. And he's been selling out American foreign policy ever since.
Absolutely right. And then, of course, it's Donald Trump who gets impeached for pointing that out on a phone call. That's how Washington, D.C. works.
A perfect phone call.
A perfect phone call. By the way, it reminds me of when I remember when Donald Trump started saying, "Where's Hunter?" Remember that at the beginning? And everyone's going, it gives you a sense of what an open secret the Biden crime family must have been, their influence peddling over all those years when Hunter Biden nobody knew his name, yet Donald Trump knew he was onto something then. Here's how the other side, here's MSNBC trying to deflect about what these last few days have meant. Watch this.
They will probably redirect the conversation to President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, who doesn't work in our government. We have seen it for months. And now this third Trump indictment has started a new wave of whataboutism from the GOP. And
the talking point is out, Charlie. Whataboutism is the new, basically saying Donald Trump's defense is going to be, well, what about Hunter Biden and what about Joe? They're coming after Trump and yet not after them.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Hunter Biden supposedly doesn't work in the government, but is not registered as a lobbyist. But apparently he does work in the government because he's able to get the vice president of the United States and now the president of the United States on the telephone to make deals, to make all of these corrupt deals to benefit himself and his family and keep the corruption going. But I also think it's, Democrats play this game like, we really hope that Donald Trump is the nominee because you watch out. You watch what you ask for, Democrats, because there is nobody that has come on the scene in decades who is a better prosecutor of exactly this case. And you're talking about Donald Trump isn't somebody, he gave up so much of his family, the enjoyment of his family. He had made an enormous reputation for himself, and he gave it up to serve his country. And then you look over here at the Biden family. They've spent their lives, leeching off of the government, off of the American taxpayer. And by the way, Joe Biden, how many times did he flame out trying to become president because he was a liar? Everybody in Washington knows he's a liar. He's always been a liar. He's just now the biggest liar there ever was, running a completely corrupt Biden family, influence peddling corruption cartel.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, I would agree with you if you weren't such a dog-faced pony soldier, but otherwise you're spot on in your analysis.
Right.
Yeah, it's incredible. Right. Charlie, thank you. Great breakdown.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.